Hello, I am Viddy of Video Games for Fun, and welcome to the first episode of my games collection series, which will, of course, as you can tell, be around my games for the Nintendo 64. The reason I'm doing the Nintendo 64 first is, one, I have pretty much played all of the games in my collection. Two, it is the first system I ever got for myself. And three, I can actually remember the order I got all of my games. So we're going to go from the first game I bought for it up to the most recent. This collection will probably expand over time. Hopefully I'll do a video about that. But anyways, the Nintendo 64 is of course an interesting system in gaming history, introducing 3D gaming alongside the PlayStation and having a controller that in retrospect may seem quite odd. Still, I really like the Nintendo 64. My one still just about works, and it has a good portion, well, so many good games. Well, we'll just go through my collection and let me know also what games you have in your collection, the games you like or dislike, as we go through, well, down memory lane for the Nintendo 64. Also, before I forget, even as a collector, I don't have the boxes for these games, unfortunately. All the boxes had to be got rid of due to space. I know a fair amount of collectors do have the boxes remaining, but I still do have most of the instructions. I'm not going to be showing those, but I'll be just showing the cartridges and hopefully briefly just telling you what I think of each game. The first game I bought for my Nintendo 64 is Diddy Kong Racing. So this is one of the games that, as you may have seen in my Gaming Memories Nintendo 64 video, prompted me to get the system itself. I played Diddy Kong Racing and one or two-ish other games elsewhere through rentals or at places that happen to have a Nintendo 64, that sort of thing, and I thought, I really want a Nintendo 64. I rented several games before finally having the money as a young person to get this game. And of course, Diddy Kong Racing, it's a very good game. It might be somewhat better than Mario Kart 64, which we'll come back to. Fond memories of playing this game. Some of the earliest photos of me playing video games are me in the background playing this game's adventure mode, which is a great single player incentive, and we had some multiplayer sessions with this game too. Suffice it to say, I do have a little bit of an awkward history with this game because for the longest time I could not beat the first Whiz-Pig race because I did not pay attention to the fact that you can sort of let go of the accelerator before a zipper, which gives you a green stream boost of speed instead of purple. Without that, you cannot hope to beat Whiz-Pig. You have to hit every zipper in that race, and with the green thing. The green thing behind the car. And yeah, speaking of the car, of course it had hovercraft and planes as well. That was pretty good as well. Also, I'm pretty sure I have not beaten this game's Adventure 2 mode, aka the hard mode to this game. But even so, I still have fond memories of discovering this game, leading me to the Nintendo 64 and buying it as my first game and playing it a lot. The second game I bought for my Nintendo 64 was also another game that made me get more interested in the system, and that is Lylatwars, better known as Star Fox 64. Lylatwars, what is there to say about it? It's a great game actually. I did wonder as a kid if it didn't have that much replay value, but I still go back to it every now and again, and I like the dialogue in it, yes, including Slippy and all that, and I still quote the game, and I try to, for the most part, increase my high scores and stuff on Lylatwars. We did a little bit of multiplayer as well. I think there was a point where one of my brother's friends beat me after being a little bit lenient with me or something like that. But still, the multiplayer was decent as well. Over time, I not only did get better scores for the game, but I also got all the medals and stuff. A few of the levels can be quite hard to get medals on, at least to me. Similar to Diddy Kong Racing's Adventure 2, I have not necessarily tried out the expert mode of this game, but that means that this Nintendo 64, amongst the others, will always have something to go back to playing, plus it is on the Nintendo Switch Online. After Lylatwars, I got a birthday gift. I think it was a birthday gift. or was it Christmas? Doesn't matter. It was a gift of a game in a franchise that I really wanted to play, well, the franchise at least, but I didn't know this game existed until I got it as a gift, and that is Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap is, as you may have seen in my review, a game I do like to a fair degree, and it's pretty unique as well, that instead of battling and capturing Pokemon, you take pictures of them, and the better pictures you take of them, the higher scores you get, and the more Pokemon you take pictures of, the more courses and therefore Pokemon you see. I do kind of like this game, but I did wish it was, longer and had more Pokemon and stuff, and it didn't feel like there was not much of a reason to go back to it after you took all pictures of every single Pokemon. Plus, the fact that there was only one save file on it for understandable reasons, because I didn't go Blockbuster or whatever to print out the pictures, meant it was a little bit awkward to try and do all the single player challenges again, especially when playing it with, I guess, my cousins and my friends and all that. Plus, I think for a while there, I tried to use the album to make some sort of comic book story, I think. I got pictures of Pikachu and pretended Pikachu was traveling around all over the island. But still, the memories of Pokemon Snap are mostly fond memories, yeah. And so, going around all the island to take pictures of a Pokemon is a unique theme that I think was probably done better in the very, very long-awaited sequel on the Nintendo Switch. But still, this is a decent game. Next up is another Pokemon game, and I mostly got this for myself, and that is the first Pokemon Stadium. This is a game I also really enjoyed, even though I was a little bit confused by it at first because I hadn't played the handheld Pokemon games and did all the battling stuff, which is pretty much what this game amounts to, which is getting a team of Pokemon and going through tournaments, gym leaders, and sometimes, battling with your friends and all that, and, just basically doing the battles of the Pokemon handheld games but without exploring the world. Though I did certainly explore the world of Pokemon by getting a Pokemon Blue copy without a Game Boy actually, and I used the transfer pack to actually play Pokemon Blue on the TV because I didn't have a Game Boy and I figured, I might as well play it, and also enjoyed playing Pokemon Blue for that reason. So this is also another fond memories sort of based game as well. More so than battling, I think, well, maybe not more so, but certainly a lot of time was spent in the mini games in this game. My cousins especially enjoyed the mini games in this, more so than the battling, that's for sure. And so we would just play mini games for a while there too, including the sushi go round game. I think that was probably my favorite mini game. I do really like this game, even though I wish the rental Pokemon could have been better. You just had to use your transfer pack with your red, blue or yellow cartridge to really get a better hand on the enemy Pokemon in battle. However, and this is probably where I show myself as being a bit of a tech novice, the save battery on this game does not work anymore. So I did the first half of all the single player content in this game, and I probably even got to Kabuto after the gym leader castle, and then this save battery keeps on resetting. I can get far enough in a tournament or something, or a gym leader castle, and just goes back to the beginning. Maybe one day I'll figure out how to fix that, so I can try and actually beat all the Pokemon trainers and be the very best like no one ever was once again. Good game. Not too bad, just wish the save battery would work. I think I've just remembered that with the Nintendo 64 I did get quite a few gifts in regards to games. And thank you, brother, for giving me a copy of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I am partial to the Star Wars franchise. I played it a fair amount as well. I think even recently this game has been ported, I think, to like the Switch and stuff. I've not played that version, or I cannot assess if it is better. But as a racing game set in the Star Wars universe by itself and based on one of the most famous sequences from the prequel trilogy, it's actually a decent game. It's a tiny bit like F-Zero in a way, actually. It's kind of fast, and you can take control of other characters besides Anakin and Sebula, I think. Yeah, it was relatively challenging from what I remember. Plus you could upgrade your pod racer, and you can also do only 2-player mode, no 4-player racing. But we did a bit of 2-player racing as well, and also I do like the production values in this game a bit as well, especially the music. I do wish the game had a little bit more depth though, but for a pretty decent racing game and in the Star Wars universe, well, this is a good one to pick up. Next up is probably one of my favourite Nintendo 64 games that I got as a bit of an impulse purchase despite the existence of its predecessor, and that is Mario Party 2. I rented its predecessor Mario Party 1, and I did actually really consider getting that game, even though the control stick minigames, and I also kind of wasn't good at Mario Party 1 to begin with. I sort of lost it to the computer a fair amount of times. I honestly don't know why in retrospect. Yet Mario Party 2 seemed to look more appealing, and I got it as impulse purchase. My dad and I thought, well, why not? And I'm so glad I did, because this is a game I played for hours. I would do quite a bit of solo stuff, but really, we know that Mario Party games are best time spent with other people. So like my dad would play, and especially Mary, my friend Mary, hello if you're watching, we would play this game a lot as well, until we finally managed to record our own multiplayer sessions on my Viddy Players channel. Check it out. Hopefully our love for this game shines through, and it is probably one of my favourites in the series as well. I like the boards, the mini games, the items, and the characters dressing up in costumes. We don't see that, I think, a lot in the Mario Party series. The only problem I do have with it, though, is the minigame coaster. There's some games I guess I haven't fully completed yet. The Mecha Marathon minigame in the minigame coaster, I just cannot button mash to save my life and complete that. So the hard mode on minigame coaster will, for the time being and possibly forever, remain incomplete. And I want to get the other minigames that you unlock after a minigame coaster. Yep. And I even try to also beat Mecha Marathon on the Wii U version, because that was the only way I could record gaming footage at the time, including the Mario Party 2 multiplayer stuff, and I still couldn't do it. So stuff like that is an awkward, I guess, nitpick of mine on what is otherwise a lots of time spent playing this great game. Spoiler alert, Mario Party 1 and 3 aren't in my collection. I do like those as well, but I think this is probably the best of the original 3. Don't at me. The next game I was compelled to get after its commercial or seeing screenshots or things like that, and its predecessor I was a little bit confused as a kid on how to progress in it and where to go and stuff. Yet I really felt compelled to buy Banjo-Tooie. And don't worry, Banjo-Kazooie is in the collection later on. I just bought it later on. I love this game, Banjo-Tooie, I really do. Maybe I do prefer its prequel slightly more, but only slightly more, or pretty much I love them both equally. This is a great sequel. I know Banjo-Tooie's worlds are kind of big, and at least on the Nintendo 64 version over the Xbox 360 one, the frame rate can really, slow down and all that. Both of those things didn't really bother me as a kid, and I especially loved when I would go over to my friend who also had a copy of Banjo-Kazooie at the time, and we would figure out together how to get all the jigsaw pieces and figure out where to go in each of the big worlds, and a tiny bit of multiplayer was done as well, maybe not a lot, but I especially enjoyed the single player campaign. This is a great 3D platformer, and the fact that it's a great sequel to me says a lot. A great Nintendo 64 game. After Banjo-Tooie, we have Mario Tennis. Well, I shouldn't say it's technically the first Mario Tennis, but considering the Virtual Boy, we'll pretend it's the first one, which I also played at a friend for a little bit. I wasn't necessarily, in fact, I probably was terrible at this game to begin with, until one of my friends let me do a few solo matches, where I was like, oh, I get this game, and I was like, I want this game. It was a little bit hard to find, but I kept on looking for it, and I found a copy. It's also, surprisingly, the winner of the first sort of top games list I did, but was only with 6 people, including myself. But for a good reason, because this is a very good Nintendo 64 game, especially with friends. And I did get all the cups and the 2 unlockable characters, and I'm pretty sure I got all the courts as well. Nowadays, I wouldn't go back and get all the cups again because it takes a while and is kind of repetitive and stuff. And I think some of the later cups are also extremely hard, like not just the Star Cup, but for ones that come after it. But still, this is a very good tennis game, possibly lacking in the depth that the handheld RPG mode sort of had, but it's still a more than playable tennis game set in the Mario universe, or the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's also a good time with friends. So I do occasionally pop back to this one, even though I got all the unlockable single player content. Now, you'd think I would have known about the PlayStation sort of version, predecessor or whatnot of this game. I didn't as a kid. That is Ridge Racer 64. Ridge Racer 64 I did rent, knowing pretty much nothing about its PlayStation equivalent or something. I think certainly Ridge Racer purists would think that the PlayStation 1 version is better or something, or I'm not exactly sure if this is meant to be a port of it, or at least it's got certain cars, certain tracks or whatnot, but still, upon renting it, after hearing that it seemed like a good racing game and had good multiplayer and stuff, both of which are true by the way, I really wanted this game. This is probably one of the hardest, at the time, Nintendo 64 games to find for me. My dad and I would ring around stores trying to find a copy of this game. There was a store really far away from where we lived at the time, I think, that managed to have a copy of this game. My dad went out to the store, and him going to the store to pick up his game was mostly the only thing that would occupy my mind going to school, so much to the point that when the school bell rang, I dashed out to see him holding a copy of this game. And yeah, it's simply a good racing game, Ridge Racer or not, and I do like it, even though the later cups are so hard that I have not been able to complete those to this day, but maybe one day I will. This was also good in multiplayer mode, especially I think in 2-player mode where the frame rate was smoother, but either way, going through the cups, unlocking the cars and doing some multiplayer made for another good racing game on the Nintendo 64. Speaking of hard to find games, well maybe more so nowadays, tell me you're lucky enough to get a copy nowadays of Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker's Bad Fur Day, wow, this is a pretty awesome game too. I first heard about it like in magazines and stuff, and I was compelled by how rude it was and surprised at how Rare, who I now realise was a sort of Banjo-Kazooie GoldenEye name, even as a kid at the time, could make such a rude 3D platform or something. I mean, it did seem kind of similar to Banjo-Kazooie, so of course I had to rent it and also get a copy of this game. It was reasonably easy to find, but it was still pretty expensive at the time. But I still actually love playing this game even today. I go through the single player campaign, or at least, excerpts of it in the chapters mode when I can, and also do multiplayer. I think I spent quite a bit of time on the multiplayer mode of it, especially against the AI. That's something that more multiplayer modes, including the Banjo-Tooie one, should have, AI bots. But also play the multiplayer with other people as well, including the multiplayer commentary on my Viddy Plays channel, which only would have just been uploaded. Check that out. There are, of course, a few issues I do have with the game, like the camera and stuff, and I think it's also a bit of a short single player campaign and all that stuff as well. And understandably, the humor of it may not necessarily appeal to everyone. But still, it probably introduced me to quite a few swear words as a 12-year-old. Wait, 12 years old? I was supposed to be 15 when playing this game. But no, this is a great game from when I'm 12 years old, and it's still a great game now. Highly recommended. Now we're coming on to the games that I mostly got second hand, because around this time, or at least around the time Conker's Bad Fur Day came out, the Nintendo 64 was pretty much going away. So the next game after Conker's Bad Fur Day, which is a second-hand copy, is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Spoiler alert, this is the only Zelda/Gold cartridge I've got in my collection. I do have Ocarina of Time digitally though. I mean, someone I think did give me a cartridge for a time, and I mean I like Ocarina of Time more than this game actually, and I got that digitally. And even though I do like Ocarina of Time more than this game, this is a special game for me. Mostly because it's the first Zelda game I ever played, but also because it was surprisingly an immersive game for me as a kid, like paying attention to the story and the characters and its weird atmosphere. Oh, even though I sucked at getting out of the first town, gosh, I was only a kid and playing some kind of RPG style game in this. I did very gradually figure out how to get out of the town and then explore the world and through the dungeons as the years went on, because this is probably one of the more challenging Zelda games in my view, and it also has a fair amount of side quests in there. But even so, I love this game, and I do also have it on the Wii U Virtual Console so I could record it. But even so, I played this for hours on the original Nintendo 64, and it was also the reason I got a second-hand expansion pack just so that this game could be run. And Donkey Kong 64, which I don't have in my physical collection, also required an expansion pack as well. The expansion pack confused me as a kid. I was like, what do you need it for? But that still sits in my Nintendo 64, so I can still revisit this game when I want. An amazing game. And yes, I do prefer Ocarina of Time, but this is still an amazing game. Play it if you haven't. Next up is a game that you think I would have got closer to the beginning of the Nintendo 64's life, and that is a second-hand copy of a game that I was compelled to get after I think I saw friends play it or something like that, and that is Super Mario 64, another favourite Nintendo 64 game of mine. As an adult, I really respect how this game revolutionized 3D platformers, 3D gaming, 3D playgrounds, doing all the objectives out of order. I can see nowadays that it's sort of like aged and all that stuff, but even so, I still love playing this game, and not just because of the No Coins challenge I'm doing on Viddy Plays. I've got the 120 stars in this game multiple times. That's how much I've enjoyed playing this game. Just getting that star every time, or getting each of the stars. Oh, such a great game. Even though it's certainly revolutionary stuff, I guess it's not exactly like my absolute favorite Nintendo 64 game, maybe not even close, but I still love this game, and I'm glad that I managed to find a copy of it at a second-hand shop or something eventually. Yeah, it's a good one. And speaking of 3D platformers and ones that people would consider better to Mario 64, and one that also, alongside Mario 64, did well in the top 25 game showcase on this channel. Yes, of course, I got it eventually after playing it a lot with my friend, Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, what is there to say about this game that hasn't been said before? This is an absolutely amazing 3D platformer. I do have that awkward memory of somehow getting to Treasure Trove Cove on a rental by accident. It's like somehow I managed to get there by accident, even though I did controls of the game and learning the moves from bottles and that. I just should have paid a bit more attention as a kid. But I guess I was old enough after that to play Banjo-Tooie and go, oh, that's where you go, sort of, and how you do it. And I did a similar thing with Banjo-Kazooie, and I wanted to get this game second hand, well, at least get a copy of the game down the line and play on it a lot. Banjo-Kazooie, a absolute masterpiece of a Nintendo 64. Plus, I recorded the Xbox 360 equivalent of this and Banjo-Tooie, because I couldn't record my Nintendo 64 until fairly recently. We also do have another rare game, not just for Banjo-Kazooie games, and that is GoldenEye 007. Yes, I also got this one secondhand as well. One of my earliest memories of the Nintendo 64, I don't think I also had a console at the time, was playing multiplayer on this with other people as well, and on a, for the time actually, surprisingly big television, which was good for 4-player split screen, which I probably sucked at, and maybe I still do to a degree, because yes, this game has not necessarily aged well to a degree, but sometimes I actually do enjoy playing this game. Even in the single player campaign, even though it can be a bit frustrating to know what to do at times, or even if you do know what to do, things like Natalia and other things get in the way. But even so, I still actually do find this a fun game at times, and I just have that fond memory of playing it towards the beginning of the Nintendo 64's life, and I figured I might as well get a second-hand copy of this game, because why not? If people can deal with my old Nintendo 64 controllers to play multiplayer mode with me, well, that's another issue entirely. And I think around the same time I also got GoldenEye secondhand was its other sort of equivalent by Rare, Perfect Dark. Now, in contrast to GoldenEye, I have, surprise, not progressed a lot in this game. Like what? I did rent this game at first, and I was also fairly young, so again, I wasn't sure about the appeal of it to begin with, and I also had a bit of trouble figuring out how to, play the multiplayer as well. Even, put in the AI bots and all that. But the good thing about Perfect Dark is that it's also heavily customizable in that regard, in terms of the AI bots, in terms of difficulty and the maps, the weapons. And you can apparently, I only figured this out until some years ago, but I've never actually tried it, do co-op in the single player campaign, that I've not got very far in. So this game I mostly just happened to want to get a few years or so ago to the recording of this video. One day I'll go through the whole thing, and I still do respect this game, especially as I am older, and it's probably better than GoldenEye. It's hard for me to say, having not played it very much. But I still need to play through this game some more, and I do kind of like it. Though I'm sure other people consider it a classic game, though. Can't argue with that. Another Rareware game, although it was their first game for the system, actually. So this one is here just for a bit of history. I've not really played it that much, except for trying to figure out how to delete the save data on it so I could play it anew. And that is Blast Core, which I got fairly cheap at a game market, I think, fairly recently. So I really do not know much about this game, other than Rare did it, and it seems to be going around with a variety of vehicles destroying stuff. It might even be fairly challenging as well. I think of the remaining save data I had, I did actually go around and maybe manage to get a bit more, like, I guess, money or something. So maybe in a typical Rareware fashion, you can really explore and find stuff, but also I think you have to be on a time limit to, destroy stuff. So this is just purely for a bit of Rareware history right here, and I better get around to playing it. The next game I got is also another early Nintendo 64 game. I only got this game because of a top 25 game showcase I did. I actually wanted to record it off the actual system, the actual Nintendo 64, and that is Mario Kart 64. Surprise, surprise, this one in my top 25 game showcase. If I do another one, which is only a small possibility, I doubt this game will win again. This is actually, surprisingly, the first Nintendo 64 game I ever played, not Diddy Kong Racing or Lylatwars, and I did not know how to use the controller. I did not know what to do. I think I was used to racing games on the PC at the time, where you had to, I think, use, the up, left, right. So I was probably used the control pad to go, and I was like, why isn't my car moving? Oh, you have to hold down the A button? Right. But anyways, Mario Kart 64, pretty decent game. I do prefer other Mario Kart games to this one though, and this game was purely a rental really until I got it on the Virtual Console, and then very recently on the Nintendo 64, because that's how I wanted to rediscover this game for the showcase. Overall, it's still a pretty good game. It's great in multiplayer especially, and its single player is decent too, but I think multiplayer is probably where this game shines. I think it also probably needed more characters and courses, I think, as well. But, for the time, this was a title I think that a lot of people played, and I did play it quite a bit on a rental as well. I think I might have wondered, should I really get this on a Virtual Console? But I'm glad I did. It's a good game. Like I said on Twitter, I'm not sure if it's exactly a #1 showcase game, but for fond multiplayer racing memories, you almost cannot beat Mario Kart 64. Diddy Kong Racing's better though. And my most recent physical game for the Nintendo 64, and you actually have to watch my next collection video to see how I got it, and that is Pilot Wings 64. I only just started playing this game recently, and I've definitely put more time into it than Blast Core. So at the moment, I've only done the beginner class, whatever it is, and even with the beginning class, I can see that this game is actually somewhat challenging. There are certain requirements to each mission you do, and I think each character controls differently as well. Like even in the first level, even though I landed accurately, it also is like landing impact and things like that, which makes for, I think, an interesting challenge to go back to. I kind of hope the later levels aren't seriously hard, but I have a feeling they will be. But still, this is an interesting looking follow-up to the SNES Pilot Wings, which I've not played actually. And also I do kind of like how this was a launch title for the Nintendo 64 as well. So whether it was this or Super Mario 64, this showed that the Nintendo 64 was, and I guess still is, a great system to play games for. So, I do actually have more Nintendo 64 games, but they are digital. And hopefully I'll get more physical games in the future. And yes, you'll have to see my next collection video to find out how I got Pilot Wings 64. So look forward to that. So I'll end this video with a montage of the digital games I own. Have a good day or night or whatever it is, and let me know what you think of my Nintendo 64 collection, what games you have, and like and dislike, all that stuff. And when will the next collection video be? We'll see. I've got to play through more games to talk more about them. So yeah, cue the montage and goodbye.
Nice shot!
Give up? Squirtle! Squirtle!
Boo, boo.
Squirtle! Way to go! Fox! Get...
Uncle Leandron! Gee, I've been saved by Fox. How swell.